Welcome back, everybody. This is Star Wars Week, and this is day 2. Today we're going to be discussing Return of the Jedi. There will be spoilers. Fair warning. Let's get right into it. So, Eric, impressions, thoughts, feelings about this movie?
Alright, so let's just say this is a great movie. This used to be my favorite Star Wars movie when I first saw all of them. But when rewatching it again, it's not my favorite, but it's still good, but it does have a few flaws in it. But I'll get to that later.
For me, this is top 3 easily. One of my most favorite Star Wars movies of all time. And I really like how the end, like the battle sequence between Vader and Luke and how that all goes down. But before we get to that, Eric, what are some of your flaws about this movie?
Well, I think that scene with Luke and Yoda, I think they could have shortened that scene a bit. And also when when Luke tells Leia that they're brother and sister, how come Leia's in shock like, oh God, Darth Vader's my father?
That's true, and it's like they just brush over it really quickly, and she's quick to accept it, and it does seem like a little like, it's not a huge deal, but it is a knock on his book and mine. But my biggest gripe for me, I think, is the opening sequence of the movie where they're rescuing Han from Jabba's palace. Could have been done a little shorter. I felt like it went on too long, and some of it was unnecessary. I understand that some of it was added scenes with the special edition, but that's the edition that I got to watch, so that's my criticism. Especially that song is so absurd and obnoxious, and I don't know why it was added in there. I'm sure it was. You know what? I'm not sure why that song was in there. It was just completely unnecessary, and overall, that sequence could have been a bit shorter, considering that Luke could have just walked in and beat everybody up and walked out with Solo and the rest of the crew. I just felt that it was a little prolonged because they wanted to showcase some of the monsters as they do in every Star Wars movie. But other than that, I don't have too many other flaws. So let's just get into the more positive things.
Alright, something let's say that's positive is that the Ewoks, they're not as cute as I remember, but it's still they're still pretty cute, little fuzzballs.
Now that you mentioned the Ewoks, let me get another negative that I almost forgot about. That whole scene in the village when the Ewoks are about to eat Han Solo and Leia and the rest of them, I think that was completely unnecessary. We could have gone through the movie without seeing that shot. How did you feel about that scene?
Yeah, they could have shortened it a bit. Also, I liked how the Ewoks thought that 3PO was like some sort of god.
Yeah, that was okay, but I felt like that whole sequence as a whole could have been shortened or skipped altogether. Anyway, back to the positives. My biggest positive is that I enjoyed how the final sequence battle between Vader and Luke was completely different than other things we've seen before. And it was more of Luke making that choice. Will he join the dark side even though he felt this anger? Can he turn away from it and do the right thing? And when he puts his lightsaber down and chooses not to fight Vader is such a big moment in the movie.
What I thought about that scene, yes, that was a great scene like that. It was, again, one's father and son, and Luke could have been seduced to the dark side, but he was like, never. I'm a Jedi like my father before me. Yeah, I'm just going to throw my lightsaber aside.
Yeah, that was like a big moment because it's a difficult thing in the face of enemy, in the face of danger, to give up that type of control, that type of protection, and really have the trust that the person you're trying to bring back to light is going to come back around. And that's like a big, big moment. And it's truly the final test in Luke's Jedi trials, and that's when he becomes a Jedi Knight. Anything else you want to touch upon?
Also, in the Battle of Endor, that was pretty clever of them, how they did the whole I love you, I know thingy backwards, except it was Han that said I love you, and then,
Leia said I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of really nice, subtle humor where it's not overly distracting, but it hits the mark every single time. And I do appreciate how they handled all the humor in this movie. The other thing I gotta mention is that I really like that. I didn't necessarily like that it was another Death Star, but I do like the way it was handled because it was a big, like how the trap was set and how the rebels thought that they were getting the upper hand on the Empire, but it was really a trap, and how that all came to head. And it really came down to people succeeding on the ground and maybe receiving a little help from the Ewoks. I know that people really like the Ewoks, but I don't know if they were overly necessary. But I mean, at least they served a purpose, and when they helped Leia and Han on the ground and Chewie. How do you feel about that?
I mean, they did destroy an AT-STI, and I think when one of the Ewoks, two of the Ewoks were ducking down, and then and the other one was like to the other one. No, one of the Ewoks was to the other one, like, "Come on, let's get up." But then he realized it was dead, and then he went hog wild.
That was a pretty sad scene to see that Ewok die, and especially how his friend reacted to it. Like, overall, I really like this movie a lot. This is my first movie I ever saw regarding the Star Wars. I was a little bit younger than Eric, and I remember seeing the text crawl and the lightsaber and the Ewoks attacking the stormtroopers and Palpatine, or the Emperor then, using his force lightning, and all that was super cool, and I remember just being drawn in by it. So this movie holds a little bit of that nostalgia factor to it, and watching it now as an adult, it does have a few minor flaws, but overall it's still a pretty damn good movie. Anything you want to add to it?
I'm sure if you watch the prequels first, then the original, you're going to be like, oh, we already know that Sith could shoot out lasers. But if I were an 83, I'd be like, whoa, the Emperor could shoot lasers from his... lightning from his hand. My mistake. Also, another thing I forgot to touch on is that nobody could seduce Anakin back to the light side except his son.
That's true. And that end funeral where like Luke is burning the ashes and he's giving him like a Jedi funeral.
Yeah, and he's like the only one.
He's the only one there.
Leia's like, oh no.
So yeah, so as you guys can tell, we really like this movie. We enjoy it. For me, it's top 3 easily. And that's Return of the Jedi. That's our discussion. Make sure you come back tomorrow. We're going to do another... we're going to be talking about The Force Awakens. And we got other Star Wars bonus content related videos. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're alerted whenever we're dropping the videos. For now, this is GB saying, use the Force, Luke.